The Politics program brought to you as always by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. Guys, we are entering in to a 2-year period where we're going to define the future of independent political media. All right? Like, we're going to find out exactly how much I can cover this presidential race past the midterms, how many live shows I'm going to be able to do, how many debates I'm going to be able to go cover, how many conventions I'm going to be able to be at, and it will all be funded by you. If you think this is important, if you think this is something that is worthwhile, if you think that this is going to be something that is well-meaning and well-intentioned and well-informed and maybe even entertaining during very divisive political times, then it is up to you to keep it going. TakePoliticsSeriously.com is where you can go to support this very show. If you're at the $3 level, you get 3 podcasts each and every week. So go ahead and check that out. TakePoliticsSeriously.com. If you're in the Bay Area, well, I got a live show for you. It's on election night. It is our Wave Watch Election Night Extravaganza. Midterm ads, live decision desk, making fun of Ted Cruz, whether he wins or loses. It's going to be a blast. Go get your tickets right now. bit.ly/WaveWatch. And, of course, you can go ahead and get my free political newsletter at freepoliticalnewsletter.com. Enough of talking, though, about how we do the show, how we support the show. What do you say that we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes. Come on, come on, come on.
Come on,
Come on, baby, 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 baby.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really know how to start this show. I honestly don't. Welcome. Politics. My name is Justin Robert Young. I'm a former journalist. I don't know how to start this show. The number one story right now, if I'm going to click over to the news, is that there have been bombs sent to, well, yesterday or 2 days ago, it was George Soros, and then today it was the Clintons and the Obamas and CNN. And the chatter around it. I am not one who gets bummed out on this shit easily. I don't. I understand that politics is not the real world. Politics is a firefight. Politics is where we can suspend some of our lines of decent conversation so we can do our best to convince more people that our ideas are correct and then apply them. That's what I understand politics to be, and so therefore I have a larger threshold for, people being on their bullshit. But the conversation around these bombs has very much annoyed me and bummed me out. On all sides, by the way. This is not a both sides. This is an all sides. Because in general, I really don't like, and this goes beyond politics, I don't like ascribing the motivations of murderers the power to affect what reasonably minded people are interested in. So therefore, I don't think because Donald Trump is mean to CNN that it in any way should bear on the fact that somebody was so fucking unhinged that they wanted to send a bomb to them. Like, I think that is Goldhammer06 in our Twitch chat. You can always watch us, twitch.tv/Justin R. Young says, is that the goal of terrorism? Yeah. And I don't think that mainstream political conversation, no matter how wacky and woolly it gets, is feeding into terrorism. That's just my opinion. Now, you can disagree with it, and plenty of people do. But it's my opinion that there's plenty of folks who don't like CNN that aren't going to send a fucking bomb to them, that don't like the San Diego Times-Union that aren't going to send a bomb to them, that don't like the Clintons and don't like the Obamas but aren't going to send a bomb to them. Now, I'm not a Pollyanna. I know that there's crazy people out there, but are we going to cede the baseline of our political thought to actual fucking attempted murderers? Really? Because I don't think that we should do that. I think that's a bad idea for us to do. I think it's a really bad idea for us to do that. Because ultimately what I think happens is when people want to do that, you're really just trying to score political points. Like the fucking asshole that went and shot Steve Scalise. Tried to kill that motherfucker. Asked people if there were Republicans out on the ball field. Took a gun and shot the House Majority Whip. That is an attempted assassination. If we're going to define assassination by a politically motivated murder, that was an assassination attempt. Right? And that dude was a liberal dude. I don't think that all liberals want to murder Steve Scalise. I don't think that everybody who thinks that CNN is an awful organization wants to send a bomb to CNN. And I believe that we should be conducting our political discourse toward reasonable people and not assuming that we are descending into chaos, because I don't think we are. And I might be proven wrong. But I don't. So I don't know really what much more I can say about this subject. This is a story that, from a journalistic perspective, we're going to know a lot more about in 12 hours than we will the last 2 hours ago. A lot of this stuff, people shut things down and label things certain things. Like this is where we're right now reporting on panic. Rightful panic, correct panic, over caution. We'll find out more about exactly what these bombs are and how many of them went where and how many were what. But in general, man, like, and it also bums me out when it's like I just read the false flag stuff. It's like, come on. How about we all be the change we want to see in the world? Right? How about that? How about when somebody does something awful and it's to somebody on the opposite side of the aisle, we say, I condemn it. This is bad. I don't want to make this about some shit that you said on Twitter. I don't want to make this about some shit that a politician I didn't like said. Let's take responsibility. Let's take responsibility for the fact that we can engage in a theatrically uncivil discourse. So we can convince each other and do battle on the political field. And that can stop short of you caused an attempted murder. I don't know. Maybe that's a radical fucking idea, but that's where I'm at. The other big story that's getting a lot of coverage is this Caravan. I don't have a lot to talk about with the Caravan. We brought up the Caravan a couple of months ago when the first one happened. The reason why this is being brought up so intensely by Republicans is because it's a good issue for them. This is a good issue for Republicans in that Republicans are winning on immigration when the conversation is about should we have borders. Republicans are not winning on immigration when the conversation is about the 50-year-old guy who raised a family in Arizona and runs a popular pizza shop that now has to be deported. That's, in general, you saw that when those issues, when the Dreamers were the topic, bad news for Republicans. When you're forcing your political opposition to say, should we have borders, that's a good position for Republicans. So that's the reason why we're bringing it up, or why it's being brought up as much as it is by conservatives, because it's a really, really, really good issue for them. There's my 2 quick hits. We got some more stuff we want to talk about today. We got a lot on our plate here. The Georgia governor's race has gotten buck nasty. I want to talk about Nate Silver and data journalism in general. I want to talk about the fact that we have a leading indicator on how the United States might be handling this Saudi Arabian crisis, and how that leading indicator's name is John Cena. Ba-ba-da-ba. I'm disappointed in Beto O'Rourke. We got some midterm ads, of course, the pole dance, and but your emails. We begin, though, with this Georgia governor's race. We have been following Brian Kemp for as long as Brian Kemp has been running in this race. We delighted over his ads in the primary. But it is October. It is October, ladies and gentlemen, and that means that we have some spooktacular October surprises that are all unearthing with the Vincent Price narration. Creepy ghouls arise tonight as old flag-burning clips are in sight. Is the tape machine a-rolling? Brian Kemp will find the trolling. Is all your words to be kept secret? Or are we here for a spooktacular meerkat? I don't know. I couldn't rhyme anything with secret. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. First, Stacey Abrams. This is, by the way, a very close race for the Georgia governor's position. I believe it is right now Kemp +2 if we are going to take the Real Clear Politics average. But this was the first shoe to drop in terms of October surprises. We read now from CNN. The Democratic candidate to be Georgia's next governor explained her presence at a 1992 protest that included the burning of a state flag as part of her operation to Confederate symbolism. Abrams, who would be the first black female governor in the country, if elected, participated in a protest that included flag burning on the steps of the Georgia Capitol when she was a freshman at Spelman College in Atlanta. Her involvement in the protest came to light just before Abrams was set to debate her Republican opponent, Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp, on Tuesday, and 2 weeks before Georgians head to the polls. Abrams' campaign said that her actions in college were part of a permitted, peaceful protest against the Confederate emblem in the flag. Now, folks, there is the old adage that if you are explaining, you're losing. And if you are explaining that, no, I wasn't burning a flag. I was burning the Confederate symbol on the flag. And by the way, this is a convoluted situation. We are talking about the fact that this is a state flag that was burned that did have a Confederate symbol on it. But still, it's a flag burning. You're able to put in the headline, Abrams defends flag burning. That is definitely a thing that has to get said. But then tit for tat, it was not, Kemp did not come out unscathed from the October surprise. Nah, homie had to learn the lesson of, did somebody forget the lessons of mittens? Homie got Mitt Romney'd, got recorded talking to donors when he didn't think he was being recorded. Now, but before we get into this, we do have to explain. I have to explain a little bit more about Brian Kemp and specifically the criticism against Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp right now, aside from being a politically incorrect Republican, I'm making sure that I guard my daughter's virtue with a gun. Right, Jake? He is the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia, and that means that he oversees elections. So he is well-versed in understanding how elections go. And so that will both be a defense and a criticism of what you are about to hear, because there is now the suspicion and criticism that why should the person, isn't it kind of weird that the person that is certifying these elections, that is overseeing these elections, is running in the election, right? So this was the quote that Brian Kemp got in trouble for. Oh, hold on. This is the quote.
Early voting with the literally tens of millions of dollars that they are putting behind to get out the vote efforts for their base. A lot of that with absentee ballot requests. They have just an unprecedented number of that, which is something that continues to concern us, especially if everybody uses and exercises their right to vote, which they absolutely.
All right. That is that is Brian Kemp saying, and let's see if we can get the actual quotes here. They have an All right, let's start from the beginning. They have an unprecedented number of absentee ballots, which is something that continues to concern us, especially if everybody uses and exercises their right to vote, which they absolutely can, and mail those ballots in. We're going to have a heavy turnout to offset that. Now, let's understand what this looks like and then what this is, right? Brian Kemp is doing what to my ears, this is Brian Kemp saying things that every politician says. In fact, it was the staple of Bernie Sanders' stump speech. Bernie Sanders would go out on every stump speech and say, we win if the turnout's high. We lose if the turnout is low. We need to turn out our base. At the very core of every politician is this kernel. Our people need to show up to vote, no matter what. No excuses. You need to show up to vote. That's that. Now, the way that you oftentimes can get people out to vote is by scaring them, by saying that the other side is voting more than you. We are being dusted. In fact, this is, if anybody is on the fundraising emails, then you understand this tone. Every fundraising emails begins with, they're doing better than us. Please chip in so we can just keep it competitive. Doesn't matter whether or not it's true. It matters that people are giving money when you need it. And in this case, it's you need to go out and vote. So Stoic Squirrel makes the point that Bernie Sanders sure did say that. However, Bernie Sanders did not control the election. And that is just going to be something that Brian Kemp has to live with. He is indeed still Secretary of State. If he were to lose, I think he would continue to be Secretary of State. Actually, I don't know in Georgia if that's an appointed position, if that would be that. But this is only an issue because of his position. But again, if you're explaining, you're losing. So now on both sides, one can run you're a flag burner, and the other can run, you're literally rigging the election, and you're concerned about how many black people are voting. Welcome to politics. It's October. Welcome to the spooptacular October surprises. Ba-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na. Why do we all start complaining about Nate Silver yesterday? It was the weirdest thing, man. It was the weirdest thing. I wonder if it's still up on Drudge Report. Because Drudge is the one who first started. God damn it, it is. Drudge is the one who first started this. He ran the big headline on Drudge Report. Silver, 87% Dems will take the House. Now, I don't know why yesterday became the time when we decided to point out, or the elements of the conservative media decided that now was the time that we're going to point out that Nate Silver's prediction model, which has been up for a month and a half now, is a thing. It's not like, I mean, I don't know, maybe 538 released like a press release yesterday or something like that. I'm not sure, but that model's been up there adjusting ever so slightly for a month now. $85% would be about the chance, I looked this up yesterday, about the chance that Hillary ended with. By the way, Nate Silver and the 538 site was the most bullish on Donald Trump's chances. But he's the most famous person in that scene, in that data analytics scene. So he's going to eat the shit if he wins or loses. He's going to get the fame. So I was kind of confused. And also, I want to talk to my red teamers right now. Where are my conservatives at? Y'all need to stop hating on Nate Silver. Nate Silver's more on your side than you think. And this is coming from somebody that found Nate Silver really, really, really annoying during the 2012 election. I thought the whole "is Nate Silver a wizard" thing and him acting like the Harry Seldon routine was a little much for me, a little rich for my blood. But having been a fan of his site and his writings, I think that there's a lot of shit that conservatives would actually really appreciate about Nate Silver. Up to and including the fact that I don't know if there is a mainstream pundit who takes more unsolicited shots at the New York Times politics department than Nate Silver. I don't know if anybody does. I don't know if anybody takes more just big shots at the New York Times politics department than him. Probably because he hates them personally. He used to work with them, and now he runs his own site, and so he does nothing but criticize them. I think this is something that, for whatever reason, has escaped the eye of mainstream conservative thought, and I would like to be the one to bring it to you. Number two. I know that the issue that the right has with Nate Silver is that they believe that polls in general, and 2016 is the siren song for this, and then the analysis of polls on top of it is something that is weighted toward liberals. They believe that conservatives are undersampled, they are underrepresented, they are modeled against. And so the picture that winds up being shown, as any data scientist will tell you, is, at best a blurry snapshot of what the now projection of the future looks like. That it's imperfect. So I get that. And we're going to talk about 2016 in one of the emails that we have a little bit later. But it is a science worth pursuing, I think. What I would love is for more conservative polls and models. I would love for more. I would love, because I think that the problem with the data analysis world right now is I like Nate Silver. I'm not in love with some of the other people, the people that Nate Silver has created. Like, I haven't been a gigantic fan. I like what Upshot is doing now with their snap polls that are coming in live. But I was not a fan of Upshot during the 2016 election, and I certainly wasn't a fan of some of the lessers of, like, Huffington Post that ended their projection with, like, Clinton 97, Trump 3%. Like, I thought that was bad. But I would love more of them. Because guess what? Data analysis is here to stay. As everything gets more complicated and as we continue to have more and more and more information, then the people that promise to simplify it will always attract an audience. And guess what? Nate Silver's the biggest name there. So it was weird. Nate Silver's, man, your princess is in another castle if you just want to shit on Nate Silver. Although he has a very smug face. I think that's partly why. I think he does have kind of a face that you'd pay to kick. Can I talk about wrestling now? Am I allowed to talk about wrestling? Can I talk about wrestling now? I want to talk about wrestling now. I want to talk about wrestling. I want to talk about... His name is John Cena. Bam, bam, bam. Brabado. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding that John Cena might be a leading indicator to foreign policy. Y'all think I'm joking. This Jamal Khashoggi thing, I'm trying to say the name right. It is now kind of boiled over. Apparently the Turkish president, Erdogan, who's also a major piece of shit, he has shared, and his intelligence operation has shared all the evidence they have with the CIA when it comes to the murder of Washington Post columnist and Saudi dissident Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. And despite the fact that any kind of move and dealing with Saudi Arabia has to be done very deliberately, considering how much of a relationship we have with Saudi Arabia, has now seemed to have turned a corner. Donald Trump, after seemingly giving Saudi Arabia a tremendous amount of time and cover to create their own narrative around what happened to that guy. By the way, the Saudis have now said that, yeah, we killed him. But it was by accident, and the new crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, he didn't really know about it. So sorry for party rocking. Donald Trump said yesterday that the Saudi Arabian response to the murder was the worst cover-up ever. Here is a quote from Donald Trump. Whoever thought of that idea, I think, is in big trouble, and they should be in big trouble. They had a very bad original concept, which in Trump speak, man. I mean, look, a lot of people, and this is the thing, man. I saw a headline on CNN. Let me see if I can look up exactly what I had to take a picture of it because it was such a fucking terrible such a terrible headline. Trump spreads lies and stokes fears ahead of election. Now, I'm not debating on whether or not he has indeed spread lies or stoked fears, but show don't tell, baby. Show don't tell. Fucking tell us what the lies are. Show us what the fears he's stoking are. Like, just tell us. You can't just put, that's not a fucking news headline. That's not a real, whether or not it is true, it's not a news headline. You can't just say that. Anyway, part of the reason why Trump lies so goddamn much is that he talks so goddamn much. And when he talks so goddamn much, this is the kind of shit that he says. They had a very bad original concept. He is talking about the either kidnapping or murder of a dissident journalist. J.C. Calhoun says, is that headline a way to get people to read the article? That was on TV. That was their chyron on television. So there was no reading the article. And even if you were going to do it as a headline to read the article, that's still a shitty fucking headline. It doesn't tell you anything. Let me get back to this. The Saudis had a very bad original concept. As if it's a Mexican restaurant in one of his hotels. Oh, tostadas failed. It was a very bad original concept. Not the, we have to murder this journalist. That was also a very bad original concept. It was almost as bad as tostadas, Trump said, probably. We continue with this quote. Quote, it was carried out poorly and the cover-up was the worst in the history of cover-ups. So, it appears as if Trump's patience with Saudi Arabia is, at least at this very point, wearing thin. And it seems as if there is going to be some level of sanctioning on Saudi Arabia. Now, if you're going to do that, you need evidence. And if you need evidence, then apparently that's what we got yesterday. Turkey shares all Khashoggi murder evidence with the CIA chief. That evidence apparently includes audio. But I would suspect that people in the news, or in the know, probably knew about this a little bit ahead of time. Which brings us to a man that the untrained political observer probably missed. Because after all, you can't see him. The WWE is holding a gigantic pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. It is called the Crown Jewel. It is part of a 10-year agreement that the House of Saud made with the World Wrestling Entertainment Company to do 10 years worth of shows in the kingdom. Now, what you may or may not have known is that these events are very well paid and include top talent. Saudis aren't paying for some bullshit. They want all the big names there, including some big names that are done wrestling professionally. But a couple days ago, the wrestling world knew that apparently John Cena is not going to appear at the Crown Jewel, nor is Daniel Bryan, another gigantic celebrity in the world of WWE. So, if that's the case, and now we are hearing that the WWE might not do the show. Now, this is partly something that we should be paying attention to. And I'm joking about the John Cena thing, but I do think that there's an element of leading indicator to this because the Saudis understand the power of familial bonds. They understand the power of people who have risen to authority and have brought the friends that they've known when they were smaller with them. Linda McMahon is currently in the administration of Donald Trump. Linda's husband, Vince McMahon, is the impresario of World Wrestling Entertainment. So the United States pulling, and every indication seems to be that if this were just up to Vince McMahon, he would just run the show and be done with it. But if the United States wants to send a message that we will take efforts to curtail your business connections with United States businesses if you fuck up like this, then this would be a way to do it. This would be a power play. So is John Cena a leading indicator to how the United States handles our relationship with Saudi Arabia? Well, we can only find out as we chart the hustle, loyalty, and respect. I am disappointed in Beto O'Rourke. Well, actually, here, real quick, before we move on to this, look, everybody who wants quick action on Saudi Arabia, it is in everyone's best interest that we give that situation time. It was in everyone's best interest that we allowed Saudi Arabia to make up another reason why they killed that guy. Because there is no such thing as quick divestment from Saudi Arabia. They are not Greece. They are not Venezuela. They are not Cuba. We can't just pull everything out immediately. We can't just cancel everything immediately. Not only would it wreak havoc with our own economy, considering how much they have invested, if they want to go tit for tat, all of a sudden there's a lot of companies in the United States that are going to be in very desperate financial situations that they wouldn't otherwise be in. Number two, our entire supply line into the Middle East is gifted by Saudi Arabia. Like, this is what international politics looks like. And it's the same kind of deal with the devil we make when China kidnaps the head of Interpol. It's the same situation when we have to sit down with Putin when he fucking murders somebody on British soil. Like, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying this is what real politics looks like. This is what dealing with a world that is ugly and brutal looks like. You have to understand that there are more factors to this. And our job is to try to protect whatever morals we can while we deal with people that don't share them. And this isn't just about Saudi Arabia. Again, this is Russia and China. This is Turkey. We're getting this information from Turkey. You think fucking Turkey's innocent in this? Go ahead and fucking Wikipedia Erdogan. All right. Rant over. I'm disappointed in Beto. Donald Trump and Ted Cruz had their little rally. in Houston. It was a big deal. But I think Beto's kind of fading. I think Beto's kind of I don't know. Does it seem to me? I mean, Texas Dems, hit me back. I know you're all still excited to vote for him, but like, where was the answer? He knew that this Trump rally was coming. Like, how do you not organize another gigantic rally for this weekend? How do you not call in every favor? How do you not bring in Obama? How do you not make this, like, if you are a Democrat who's going to win statewide office in Texas, it's not because you had a regular election, right? It's going to be when you have a riot of an election, a very abnormal election, a huge, everybody is as excited as they possibly can be election. And Beto had that energy. He had that big Beto energy up until like about a month ago. Man, he was doing that big rally with Willie Nelson out in Austin, and it was like 50,000 people or something. Like, it was gigantic. But you need just a gigantic thing. And Jedi 71 says Beto needs to run an ad of Trump saying Lion Ted for 30 seconds. I don't think that's it. That's in the past. And I don't think that you're going to win Democratic enthusiasm or independent enthusiasm by painting Ted Cruz to be a weak-willed piece of garbage. I think that you're going to win by saying, this is the dawning of a new Texas. I am what the future of Texas representation looks like. And that means taking that mantle. That means getting a little bit more aggressive. And Beto started to, but I don't know. I'm just disappointed. I thought that like as soon as Trump announced his thing, then it was going to be in, whatever gigantic venue you can do in Dallas or in Austin or in San Antonio. Like, do another big gigantic rally. Break through the news. Yeah, Jedi 71 in the chat says he is saying that in his ads. Yeah, but like the ads are so uninspiring. Like, he's just looking dead into the camera and it's not passionate. I don't feel the passion in watching it. And that's what I think he needs. He needs to do. Like, this has to be, well, let me just put it this way. This election has to be about Beto and not Cruz for Beto to win. If that makes sense. This has to be about Beto's crowds. This has to be about Beto's enthusiasm. This has to be about Beto, the phenomenon. Beto, the comet streaking across the sky. Beto, the miracle. Beto, the Christ figure. Right? That's what this has to be. If we're talking about Ted Cruz, you're losing. You're losing. Because he's a known commodity and you're not as known. I'm starting to think that Beto O'Rourke is a regular season politician. Do it in the playoffs. Because right now, when the chips are down in these final 2 months, I thought Beto couldn't have done a better job leading up to this. And I think he is fading right now. I am disappointed. I'm glad. I was feeling really, really, really upset because of the 3 places that I wanted to do a live show. It was either going to be DC, here in San Francisco, or Austin. And for a while, I was like, shit, man, if this fucking Beto thing's for real, I'm going to really feel like a fucking idiot that I didn't do my live show in Austin. And now I'm feeling glad because fucking regular season Beto is fading like the goddamn Back to the Future picture. We got some crazy midterm ads. This ad is Heidi Heidkamp. She is running. Well, actually, no, what? We're going to do Heidi second. Let's do this from Bob Hugan. This is when, look, man, we're 2 weeks away. This is when shit stops getting polite and starts getting real. This is Bob Hugan with an ad called Hypocrisy about his opponent in New Jersey, Robert Menendez.
When will we as a society begin to believe women, to trust women?
What a hypocrite. What about the underage girls who accused you, according to the FBI?
God, there is just something about that tone of voice that just gets me, like, the back of the fucking hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I'm so excited. Whenever that voice, that tone of voice, what a hypocrite. What about the underage girls that accused... I'm going to play it again.
When will we as a society begin to believe women, to trust women?
What a hypocrite. What about the underage girls who accused you, according to the FBI?
New Jersey's Bob Menendez is being forced to deny allegations of engaging with prostitutes.
Sex with underage prostitutes in the Dominican Republic.
It's right here in this shocking FBI affidavit. President Obama's Justice Department had evidence that for several years, Menendez had been traveling to the Dominican Republic to engage in sexual activity with prostitutes, some of whom were minors, even as young as 16. Worse, after the FBI caught you lying about your trips to the Dominican Republic, your lawyers even argued that having sex with underage girls overseas would hardly be a federal crime. Outrageous.
When will we as a society begin
Truly outrageous.
to believe women?
Really, Bob? It's time for you to go.
I'm Bob Hugan. I approve this message.
I just love also when you just like ether another human being. You're calling him a hypocrite who fucked underage girls in the Dominican Republic and then had your lawyer lie about it, right? Like, and then the thing, and you can't see this if you're only listening, but the Bob Hugan tag at the end is him just in a very sensible sweater and a button-up shirt, just talking to a constituent, like, very nice. There's something about that juxtaposition that just never fails to bring a smile to my face. Now, before you write in your emails, the Menendez allegations are something that are very much up for debate. There is conversation about whether or not those girls were coached or paid. Also, there was a Daily Caller element to this. I'm just here for the ads. Sorry for party rocking. This is our Heidi Heidkamp ad.
I'm Heidi Heidkamp, and maybe this is how we should decide elections.
Oh, by the way, what we are watching right now is North Dakota Senator Heidi Heidkamp arm wrestling a gigantic man in a wife beater.
Because it couldn't get much more ridiculous. Kevin Cramer wants you to believe that I'm anti-veteran, pro-taxes, and against prosecuting illegal immigrants who commit crimes. Are you kidding me? That's about as silly and fake as this TV ad. I approve this message because I've fought every day for North Dakota. And Kevin, I'm just getting warmed up.
Heidi, well, let's see. Is she just getting warmed up? Is she just getting warmed up? Is she on the way out? Well, there's only really one way for us to find out. I mean, look, everybody wants to shit on on Nate Silver for his data journalism. What do you say you come for us? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we talk numbers. Folks, prepare yourself, because this is a North Dakota Senate.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Oh! Dance, 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 dance. This is a NBC Valley News poll taken from October the 12th to October the 19th with a 650-person likely voter sample, a margin of error of 3.8%. Coming up first to the stage, oh, she's been working that arm out based on that ad. But she's our opening act, your incumbent Democratic senator with 40%. It's Heidi Heitkamp. But her opponent, with 56% of the vote, the Republican James Kramer. That is Kramer over Heitkamp with a 16-point spread. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get into but your emails. That is where we go ahead and review any email that you send to theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Chris wrote in about the 538 coverage. He said, I enjoyed 538's coverage. Oh, no, he was quoting me from the newsletter this morning. This is what I wrote in the newsletter. I enjoyed 538's coverage of the 2016 election, and listening to their podcast gave me valuable insight into polling in general and specifically the choices that were made in presenting data analysis on a passionate subject. While the 538 model got things laughably wrong in the election, Silver was clear on his podcast that people were overconfident if they thought the Clinton landslide was inevitable. Chris then criticizes. I followed 538's modeling coverage, and I disagree that the model, quote-unquote, got things laughably wrong. As you note, it gave Trump a 28% chance. You seem to use this as proof that it was flawed, but events with a 28% chance happen about 1 in 4 times. You seem to be making the same mistake I saw making when they incorrectly interpret probabilities with over 70% equal virtual certainty. But the fact that Trump won, given 538's model, is no more surprising than rolling the 6 on a dice. Given the certainty that you attributed to the Clinton victory in your premature retrospective podcast, I also think that you should be more generous with the old Schadenfreude. Okay, that's a low blow, but the point stands. You are reinforcing a false narrative that all the polls were wrong. They weren't. In most cases, results obtained were within the margin of error. Those giving Trump less than a 1% chance have more to answer for because the polls didn't support such certainty. I agree with everything else you said and share your amusement about Nate's New York Times vendetta. So just nitpicking, I think it's an important nit given we are all headed toward more election and more polling. Chris, I 100% agree with you. However, and I do think that this is something that data analysis has to answer for, and it's the reason why that they have gone, that 538 has gone away from a percentage model and toward what you are saying, where it's a 1 in 4 chance or a 1 in 5 chance or a 1 in 6 chance of something happening. because you are responsible for how you present your data. You are responsible for how the audience interprets your data. That is on you. So you can't have it both ways and have Nate Silver is a wizard when he gets everything right and say, oops, I guess I've just cracked the code of all data analysis, and then have your percentage be wrong on something else and say, guys, you really need to understand probabilities better. I get it, and I understand it, and there's a reason why I like 538, because I do think that what they were saying was correct, and we needed to pay attention to it. If you listen to that podcast, you heard an increasing frustration by Nate Silver that people were hurting too much, not only with the polls, but also with the data analysis. But, and I do think this is an important but, as this fairly young form of journalism grows up, you have to understand that regular humans, whether or not this is an incorrect assumption, when they see that something is under 50%, or I would say even under 40%, that they're going to look at it as, if it didn't happen, that was wrong. And so either you need to adjust how you're presenting the data, or you need to figure out a new way to represent this. And that's why 538 went to a 1 out of 5 chance. That they want you to think, if it happened 5 times, 1 time the Republicans would keep the House. Because they understand that there is a data analysis presentation problem that they tried to fix. So while I want, and this was all in me trying to defend Nate Silver, I think it's important to represent that, yeah, most people look, and if you say there's a 28% chance of this thing happening, and then it happens, that you could have done a better job of representing how close we were to Donald Trump winning. That's all I'm saying. Sean writes, I have certainly come around to your way of thinking when I say go vote. Now I say go vote for who I want you to vote for. But I think that there is an addendum these days. In 9 states with use it or lose it voting laws, cough, Georgia, cough, I think that there's it's still fair to say go vote to people so they continue to have the right to vote. In those situations, I would rather turn in a blank ballot every election that they would otherwise sit out. Then in the election that they want to vote, they can still be able to do it. So I think saying go vote is acceptable if it's intended to prevent voter suppression in future elections. I don't know when I should do it, but I think we need a big conversation about voter suppression versus voter fraud. Because this is the season when no side wants to talk about either but the one thing that they're interested in, and all Democrats want to talk about is voter suppression, and all Republicans want to talk about is voter fraud. I think we just need to understand where these things come from. Big Jim the Trade Nerd wrote me a great little email about the Trump's Chinese trade war that I want to read to you guys. There has to be a point in which we look upon our relationship with the Chinese and ask, where does this hurt American businesses? Right now, you're not really going to see it. However, wait until Christmas when the tariff rate goes up to plus 25%. When you start to see headwear go up by that much, which will probably result in a $25 NBA cap now costing around $35. Because the increase is not just the duty, it's compounded by all the other costs that go with it. When the cost for hats for children waiting for the school bus go up, when the cost for display cases and retail racking increases, which causes all costs to increase, when the costs for electronics really start to hurt, companies are not going to just eat them. They are costs that will be passed along to the end consumers. And at some point, these consumers will be pissed off that their neighbors are losing jobs because the raw materials we need, see steel and aluminum, can't get into the country and the plants need to shut down. While our president does sometimes look like William Shatner, he is no Captain Kirk in this Kobayashi Maru. I think that this is a tremendously well thought out representation of the American point of view of this. But I do think that it's not like China's economy is doing well. And ultimately, the one trump card that we do have on China is if we incentivize American companies moving their manufacturing out of China, those are not one-season decisions. Those are 10-year decisions. So I do think that we will have a deal. We will have a Chinese trade deal next year. I believe that. Now, what it will be and how much different it will be from what we would have had with like the TPP, that remains to be seen. Kenji writes, I don't believe on voting on representatives and propositions that one doesn't understand, but that an individual's vote generally doesn't matter. However, I think we should be encouraging everyone to cast a ballot. That will at least make people a statistic where politicians should be more likely to cater to all their constituents since they don't know how people voted. If you know a demographic doesn't vote, it's easy to ignore them, even if they're vocal. Here's my thing. I think people should vote. My very specific point is, if you don't want to vote and you don't feel educated enough to vote, it's okay not to. And that by and large, the vast majority of people that are going to tell you, vote, vote, vote at any cost, vote, are really just saying, vote for me. Vote for the candidate that I want you to vote for. That's all I'm ever saying. All right. That about wraps it up for our show here today. I want to thank everybody for writing in theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com is where you write in. I want to thank Valesco and Trap Killers for writing us the songs that we use. I want to allow you the privilege to follow me wherever you might, at Justin R. Young everywhere. I would also like for everybody to know that you can get my newsletter 5 days a week, freepoliticalnewsletter.com. You can support this show. Support independent political journalism. Please, at takepoliticsseriously.com. And of course, live show. We got a Wave Watch. Piano Fight Theater, 7 p.m. Tuesday, November 6th. That is Election Day. Go ahead and get your tickets. bit.ly/WaveWatch. If you're in the Bay Area, man, there ain't going to be no better place to be. All right, that about wraps it up for us. Until next week. Some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still more talk about politics. But us, right here, we're the only people who talk about all three. I'll see you next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.